Hello, everyone. Welcome to Apollo Justice, Ace Attorney. Episode 1, Turnabout Trump. Showdown time. You lose. Ah. Hello, everyone. I seem to be in a bit of trouble. Something like that. Dead. Someone hit him hard. Me? Please. Cops should be here any moment. I'm in your hands. Should it come to that. April 20th, 9:37 a.m. District Court. Defendant Lobby 3. Panicked. All sweaty. Can't admit it. I'm nervous. Good morning. Good morning, sir. You look tense, Justice. Wound up tight. Wound up, sir? No, I'm loose. I'm fine. That screeching noise. Say your voice. I suppose it's to be expected. Your first trial, and it's a homicide. I guess justice doesn't start small, eh? I'm fine. I got up at 5 a.m. and did my Chords of Steel voice workout. I'm fine. That explains it. I did detect a certain rasping quality of your speech. You overdid it again. As you know, your client today is a good friend of mine. I wouldn't want to let him down, if you get my drift. Drift gone, sir. I'm all over that drift. As it happens, I dined with him on the night of the murder. We can't let this case fall through. Yes, I'm fine, sir. One more thing. Don't say you're fine quite so much. People might take you the wrong way. I'll be preparing our case. You might want to introduce yourself to the client. My name is Apollo Justice. If it isn't clear already, I'm a new attorney. And today is my first trial. No, not that I'm worried or anything. The defendant has been accused of murder. My boss wants to help him out, of course, and so do I. I mean, there's no way he did it. Not him. No way. Because it's fucking Phoenix Wright. Whoa. Good morning. Yeah, morning. It's all up to you today. First trial, nervous, meeting him, cardiac arrest. I think I'm supposed to say something. Help. So, you're fine. I'm fine. Mr. Fine, is it? I did remember you having an odd name. Well, we're off to a great start. Are you sure you're okay? I mean, with me? Mr. Gavin is a top-notch defense attorney. And he's your friend, so why? You'll see. Huh? You can do it. Be confident. I'm really sorry this happened to you. It's time, shall we? Yes, sir. Okay, need to focus. First trial, here comes justice. April 20th, 10 a.m., District Courtroom number 2. The court is now in session. And there's my turkey sandwich. Yes, that's a Nico Beer reference. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. The defense is fine. I mean, ready, Your Honor. I'm going blank. Don't panic. Too late. Your name was Mr. Justice? And this is your first trial. Yes, Your Honor, but I'm fine, really. Are you quite sure? Your voice sounds a bit strained. Do you need a turkey sandwich? Mr. Gavin? Yes, Your Honor. I was under the impression that you'd be handing the case. That was my intention, yes. However, a defense attorney must always cede to his client's wishes. And my client specifically requested Mr. Justice. Well, of course he wants justice. But to entrust this case to this greenhorn, why? I'm not exaggerating when I say that you're the best defense attorney in town, Mr. Gavin. Okay, so Gavin's got trial experience, fine. But does he have cords of steel? Then let's begin. The defendant may enter the courtroom. This is truly an unfortunate turn of events. Sorry we had to meet again under these circumstances. Long time no see, Mr. Wright. Let's put the past behind us, shall we? These days I'm merely Phoenix Wright, piano player. Mr. Wright, how could this have happened? Won't speak of it further, then. If the prosecution would be so kind to explain the charges, Mr. Payne. To think I saw you enter the room as fresh attorney. And now I'll see you leave in chains. Winston Payne, soul as ever I see. The crime occurred at the Borscht Bowl Club, a Russian restaurant. The defendant, Phoenix Wright, took the victim, a customer, and he hit him, wham, on the head, smack, killed him cold. Customer at the restaurant, you say? And the defendant, you say he was the pianist for the club, it seems. Phoenix Wright, a pianist? This is the weapon that took the victim's life, a bottle of grape juice. Grape juice is apparently our defendant's drink of choice. The court accepts this deadly bottle as evidence. Deadly bottle added to the court record. Something to note, Justice. All evidence is filed on the court record. Make a practice of checking it frequently. The court record, right, I've heard of it. Use one, whatever the fuck that is, to look at the evidence so far. If it's not obvious, I'm giving Christoph a dickish voice. I'm confident in your ability to handle this. Right, use R1, whatever the fuck that is. Sounds like it's time for the hands-on action, that's what she said. So the victim was a customer at this restaurant. But just who is that Shady Smith fellow? We believe he was a traveler, Your Honor. A traveler? According to his passport, he had been out of the country for a number of years. He only returned to the country recently, though his place of residence is unclear. And he has some sort of connection with the defendant. That, too, is unclear at present, Your Honor. We believe they first met at the Borscht Bowl Club on the night of the crime. If they had only just met, then why murder? Perhaps the victim slighted the defendant's piano playing. That doesn't appear to be the case. No, the motive had nothing to do with the defendant's lack of playing skill. At least not piano playing. I'll let this photo explain what I mean. As you can see, a game of poker was in progress at the scene of the crime. Wait a second. Isn't poker gambling? That's a crime in and of itself. That hardly fucking matters right now. Indeed, it appears our defendant has fallen to become a basis sort of criminal. It's true that the defendant was engaged in a game of poker with the victim, and it was only that, a game in the purest sense, a competition, Your Honor. Do not let the baseless accusations of this nitwit cause problems. A competition? Yes, a test of wits. Some clash of passions. Playing the cards, their backs wreathed in blue flame, know that its final outcome. Come again. The cards on the table had blue black backs, Your Honor. I believe the defense is waxing poetic in an attempt to mystify the present and impress women. And will be our first order of business here, then. Find out more about this fatal game of cards. Very well, defendant. You will testify about the poker competition held the night of the crime. My pleasure. This is it. My first trial. Goes nothing. I'm a pianist by trade, and I can barely play at all. My real job is to take interested customers at the poker table. The room where we play in the competition is, and there is the club's main events. Rules are simple. Play a game of poker using 2 decks of cards. That's all it is, a game. And our customers are happy. A pianist who cannot play the piano. Better than a defense attorney who can't defend. Prick. Very well. Defense may begin the cross-examination. Right, Your Honor. Don't blow it. Are you all right? You're sweating bullets. Bullets? Where? It's a figure of speech, you nitwit. Your voice sounds strained and raspy, too. My brain feels strained and raspy, sir. You've watched me perform cross-examinations many times, but you've never done one yourself, have you? Care for a refresher? What to do? Fuck no, I've been doing this forever. No need help here, sir. Think I've got this one covered. I think you'd better do more than think. You know it, or you do not. I'm fine. Cords of steel are ready for battle. My weapons pressed and present. Find any inconsistencies and new lies in the testimony and reveal them to the court. That is a cross-examination. Learn it, know it, do it. Inconsistencies, lies. Phoenix Wright? As if. Phoenix Wright would never lie. That's a lie. It's up to me to prove it. The defense may begin a cross-examination. Doesn't really seem like anything right now, so we just press. You can hardly play. I play sometimes. The customers demand it. So I play them one song. That's usually all they want. Is it Wonderwall? It's probably Wonderwall. Actually, can even play Wonderwall on the piano. Was that supposed to be a boat just now? The title of pianist is a mask. Respectable face I wear for the world at large. Then why are you really at the boat club? To pay just to play poker? That would seem to be the case. I am a professional after all. Moonlight Sonata? Bah, I detect pride in that statement. It's just hard for an honest, hard-working member of society like me to imagine. Well, that's a load of shit. Yes, your imagination has always been a bit limited, Winston. Oh! What? I played poker for 7 years in that little room. And I've never lost once. What? Well, he does have a good poker face. You see, why the customers come now? Defeat the undefeated poker champion. It's quite a draw. That is, I'm quite a draw. Wait, you've never lost once? Not even one time? As I said, I'm a professional. Playing poker for 7 years and never lost one. Impossible. The room in the crime scene photo is an attraction. It is quite a history, actually. Bull Club used to be a gathering spot for black market types back in the day. The black market? Well, in the past, things like the black market are only on the silver screen nowadays. Suffice to say, there were a lot of deals being made under the table. Right in that room. Under that table specifically. Smoky room, gambling hosts? You know, just looking at that picture makes me feel bad. The bosses gather around the table, cutting deals safe from the eyes of the law. Meanwhile, Goon keeps watch through a small window. You can practically picture it now. That window does seem like it look like it would be good for keeping a lookout. The room had a few other tricks to it, though it was common knowledge to our regulars. At any rate, they come to play poker in a room steeped in history. Despite the dark past, it was all just good, clean fun. We played game of poker. 2 decks of cards. A simple measure to prevent cheating. If you alternate 2 decks, no one can slip in cards. There's something else I noted. In addition to the cards on the table, there's some lying on the floor. Precisely. Cards on the tables, cards on the floor, each one performing a complete deck. A crime scene that painted in blue by a sad sweep of cards. It's poetic, really. Incidentally, we used 2 types of cards at the club. One deck of cards was red, the other blue. As I recall, in poker you have to make 5-card hands. You can see how it would be easy to cheat. Yes, a game of hands. Huh? This competition you're talking about. I believe the court understands the nature of the game sufficiently. That's right. No, he's not. It was a simple game after all. Are you sure? Huh? People are not murdered over simple games, Mr. Justice. Defendant, you were in the room the very moment the crime occurred. You claim no connection to the crime. Now that's strange. What's strange? I was testifying about the competition that night. Asking me about the crime at this point, it's against the rules, Your Honor. Of course, I expect to hear a cry of objection from the defense. Completely allowed that one slip by. Don't despair yet, Justice. Sir? Right, there's something I'd like to make clear. Namely, your connection to the case at hand. And I'd like to hear from you. Sure, why not? Very well. The defendant will amend his testimony. Just one little press. Got myself a whole new testimony. I pled silence regarding the murder, but I will say I never touched the murder weapon. Silence? Defendant has the right to refuse to testify. I haven't forgotten everything about the law. But why? It clearly puts you at a disadvantage. And it's your job to turn that around in your favor, right? Great. Like I didn't have enough to do already. Justice, didn't you detect anything odd about that testimony? Huh? Wait, something he said did ring a little strangely. Just one thing. Now, what was it? When you figure it out, I suggest presenting evidence. Evidence that contradicts the testimony, you fucking nitwit. Contradiction in his testimony, but why? You better check the court record. It's a little early to be jumping to conclusions. This is your first cross-examination. Take it slow. If you need more information, don't forget to press. Right, I got it. I'm fine. Time to listen to the testimony again. I will say I never touched a murder weapon, which is weird because it had your prints. So you say you didn't touch the murder weapon? I haven't presented evidence. This grape juice, right? So I said. Something the matter, Mr. Justice? Too bad our new defense attorney never learned to play dumb. What's this, Mr. Payne? I examined the bottle in question, you see, and it was covered with the defendant's fingerprints. Objection! No need to shout, Mr. Justice. I can hear you just fine. Excess yelling can damage the judge's ears in our case. But what about my cords of steel? Anyway, what's so strange about the fingerprints on the ball in the restaurant? Well, that's true. Prints alone, though. They wouldn't prove a thing if they were normal fingerprints. Huh? But the fingerprints on the murder weapon are upside down. Upside down? What does that mean? It means he was holding it upside down, you dumbass. It means he was holding the bottle inverted. And there would only be one reason for that. Yes. To brain someone with a bottle. Mr. Gavin, I think things just took a turn for the worst. Oh, I see no problem. Justice? Huh? The only thing that matters is the truth. There's a good reason for everything, you see. Defendant, can you explain your fingerprints on the bottle of this course to the court? I stand by my plea of silence regarding the murder. For now. Not very cooperative, are you? This could hurt your case. I'm sure he's uncooperative because he's hiding something. There must be some reason. Your Honor, you seem to have forgotten something. And what might that be, Gavin? On the night of the crime, who was it that reported the murder to the police? Reported? Well, that was the defendant, Mr. Wright, but still that. Really? Yes, well, according to the case file, the murder was reported from near the crime by defendant's cell phone. Near the scene? Let's take a look at the diagram of the murder scene, shall we? The victim was murdered in a small room in the basement, 2 floors down from ground level. Of course, cell phones can't get reception so far down. The defendant used the stairs in this hallway to go up above ground. Call came from inside the house, from the first floor of the restaurant. I see. This is the phone that made the call. Defendant could have just fled the scene of the crime if he so chose. If he fulfilled his duty as a citizen and reported it to the authorities, and he claimed he's being uncooperative. It's safe, Mr. Gavin. Better not waste time. I think the prosecution has toyed with our client long enough. Toyed? I assure you, there's no one is more serious about... What was it you said? The defendant was in the room the very moment the crime occurred. How can you possibly know this? That's a good question. How indeed? The answer is simple. The prosecution has a decisive witness. As good as they say you are. So someone else was in the room that night. That must mean they witnessed the crime. Everything up till now has been a warm-up, Justice. Are you ready? Very well. Prosecution may call its first witness to the stand. Oh. The witness will state her name and profession. Hold on just a moment. Where's the witness? I surmise that she is framed by the defense's demonic-looking horns. So use a little hair gel. Relax, people. Have no fear. If any horns point in your direction, the court will cut them off. You sure? I swear on my gavel. Please, come out. Isn't violence against hair a crime, Your Honor? Well, If you are sure it's okay. Yes, she's resting. Now, prosecution. Wait a minute. The prosecution could explain the witness's, paraphernalia? Yes, she's a professional, Your Honor. Those are merely tools of her trade. That would be? My name is Olga Aurelie. Olga Aurelie. Olga Aurelie. I'm employed as a waitress at the Blow Club restaurant. Then why the camera? Of course, it is my pride to serve borscht that is name in the restaurant. But I also perform as other service. I take it one of the services is customers' pictures. Like, for example, this one. That's the defendant. Indeed, the night of her murder. Man in white hat is one who was gone kaput. Indeed, that's the victim. Order! Order! It's quite a piece of evidence that's casually dropped into our laps. The same way I drop cold bowls of borscht in the laps of customers. Casually. Then the court will casually accept this new evidence. Olga's photo. Now, witness, where were you at the time of the murder? I was in room. The hideout, as they call it. Excuse me, the hideout? It is room of a very famous gangster, bad guy, was arrested. It's room where murder took place. You're looking very surprised. It is lovely. I will post the courtroom door later for you. Photos will be numbered, and you will write which ones you want a copy of. So there are 3 people in the room at the time of the crime. Victim, Shay Smith, Mr. Wright, and Olga Aurelie, our witness. If Mr. Wright isn't the killer, that means... Very well, witness. You will testify to the court about this night of events. That night, the customer asked me to deal cards for a game. It was cold. Both players played with hats on, The victim, he plays whole time with his hand unlocked to his neck. Then last hand is done, but something terrible has happened, That man flew at the victim and strangled him to death. Well, that doesn't sound right. Incidentally, who won the game? It's not obvious. The winner was the victim, Mr. Smith. That's ridiculous. Because Mr. Wright can't lose. Justice. Maybe he can come up with a more legitimate objection. But he hadn't lost a game in 17 years. Take it from me, kid. It happens. I didn't lose my case for my first 7 years of prosecutor either. And then Mr. Wright came along and punched me in the throat. Incidentally, there's some evidence here. Yeah. These are the poker chips that they lay at the very moment of your crime. The hand in the chips side belong to the defendant. The ones on the far side belong to the victim. Chips, you say? I mean, yes. Imagine poker is a war. Your hand is your army, the chips are your spoils. I know that. After all, my years I was known as the poker head of courtroom number 3. I highly doubt that. I think he means poker face. Looking at this picture, does seem that most of the chips are on the victim's side of the table. Very well. Defendants may cross-examine the witness. You were dealing cards. Do you do this often? Da, I'm doing this. If cards wonder wishes, I serve everything. Bush cards, more bush. It is my work. It's good to hear a place that hasn't forgotten the meaning of service. Welcome you to Bull Club, where Borscht is warm as the waitresses. Thank you for not handing out flyers during the cross-examination. Sorry, April. It could be cold. At Bull Club, we pride on our authentic rustic Russian restaurant thing. Try saying that 5 times fast. Outside it's city in spring, but inside it is always as cold as Mother Russia. No way I'm going there. When it comes to hot borscht, called its best seasoning, da? His locket. I believe it was good luck charm, da? He gripped it so many times he played that night. Yes, he must have felt that, though it might carry him to the moon and stars. Though, if we're small enough to fit around his neck, wouldn't have much left. He's in there, but he's not wearing it in there. The defense would like clarification. This is a locket we're talking about. I mean, a pendant with a picture in it, right? Not a rocket. Of course, they knew that. It's probably a pendant shaped like a rocket. So I should call it that. No, a locket's a locket. It's considered bad form to poke fun at the hard of hearing in our society. Hard of hearing or hard of understanding. Why not both? So what happened next? Then last hand is done, but something terrible happened. Da. Something terrible. Eek! Defense will refrain from needless shouting. Sorry. I need to seriously consider the vocal training thing. Now, Miss O'Reilly. Really? Can you tell us what happened? Oh, I was so frightened I trembled with fear. Well, that doesn't sound right. Objection! That's not right. The defendant would never do such a thing. Eek! Well, now I can't say I've ever heard of defense try this tactic. If possible, please refrain from embarrassing me. Still, why would anyone do something like this over a game of poker? Perhaps it is because the defendant has lost the game. Yes, the crushing defeat for a man undefeated. So it always is with men like him. When it's winners make sore losers. Oh, how the mighty fellow. Go ahead, I believe you know what you need to do. Right, sir. Give it to me. Now, what I was supposed to present. Oh, really? Yes, that is my last name. Strangled, you say? That's odd. None of my customers choke on the board. No, I mean, this report shows that the victim died to a blow to the head. Ah! Miss O'Reilly, really now, did you witness the crime? Eek! That was pretty impressive. Looking at the picture, it doesn't seem like he was hit. He's still wearing his hat and everything. Yet, it is the fact that he was hit, Your Honor. Here's a photo we took of the victim with his hat off during the investigation. Well, that's quite shocking, isn't it? His head certainly was hit. But I have seen it happen. Defendant, he lunged at victim his neck. Really, Miss O'Reilly. Yes, that is still my name. I think you caught you in your own lie this time, Justice. I admire your enthusiasm, but perhaps you should think this through once more. What do you mean? I found a contradiction. There's only one thing in her testimony that troubles me. Very well. Seems we should continue the cross-examination. There's such a thing as thinking too much. This horse is dead. Let's stop being it. There's such a thing as thinking too loud. Too. Prick. But my customer asked me to deal cards.
Objection!
No. Wait. I'm dumb. I need to be more careful. Didn't say anything about hitting before. It's so sorry. I must be forgetting it. Witness, you will be take greater care in your testimony. Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor. And that clears up the discrepancy with this autopsy report. Defendant made to strangle the victim, then changed his mind, and chose a simpler, blunter means to do the job. Yes, that sums it up nicely. So he strangled him, then hit him? Something fishy about all this. No. Excuse me. Yeah. He's not wearing a locket. You know, there was one curious part about her testimony, just like Gavin said. But what does it mean? Mr. Justice, would he care to explain what he just thinking so intensely about? Recall the testimony, Your Honor. The victim played with his hand on his locket at his neck. I believe she said, I hope you aren't about to raise an objection to witness grammar. No, but look at the photograph. Do you see a locket on the victim's neck? Well done, Justice. I'm impressed. I knew you'd be able to handle this. But what does that mean? You're to believe the witness's testimony as is. The locket disappeared following the victim's death. Lockets don't just disappear, Your Honor. It's quite simple when you think about it. The locket is gone. Someone must have taken it off. No. Taken it off. Wait, don't you mean... Defendant wasn't strangling the victim at all. He was taking off his locket. When that explain it. Ah! Defendant, what do you have to say about this? Say, yes? I just noticed this, but you have something hanging around your neck, don't you? Oh, you mean this? Yes, it's a locket with a photograph inside. A photo of my daughter. Bum bum bum. Come again? Mr. Wright, you have a daughter? I confirmed it at the time of the arrest. The picture inside of the locket is indeed Mr. Wright's daughter. So Mr. Wright has a locket too? I don't buy this, it's just a coincidence. Well now, if the results of this poker game led to the murder, perhaps we should hear more about the outcome of the game. Further testimony won't be necessary. It's clear the defendant lost badly. Mr. Royley, you will testify to the court about the game played. Duh. The game began with 3,500 points and chips for each man. House chips come in two sizes, small and large. The one who was winning, was the victim. For the last hand, defendant played with all chips and table and laws. The moment lost was decided. Defendant grabbed bottle from the table and... Indeed, looking at this photo, it does seem like it to be a one-sided game. But the math doesn't really add up when you look at it. As the court knows, poker was the defendant's life. Failure must have been a bitter pill to swallow. How many times I have heard those words. I done it in the face of a fit of anger, Your Honor. I done it in a fit of anger, Your Honor, and now I regret what I've done. He ran into my knife. He ran into my knife 10 times. He thinks the judge watches too many old court movies. Mr. Wright said he hasn't lost in 7 years, so the testimony must be wrong. Are the chips in the photo all the chips that were used? Duh, of course. Something's fishy about those chips. Maybe you could explain about these chips? Explain? Was there to be explained? Poker chips are poker chips. They're not fish and chips. Now chip off the old block. Our motorcycle chip. Thanks. Now that I've pressed her, I better ask something. What are these chips worth? Are they in dollars or rupees or... Yes, as I've been saying before, it was game, not gambling. I perhaps for capitalists to understand. Bitch. 2 types of chip. 100 points chip and 1,000 points chip. It's not money, duh. Well, let's add that up, shall we? So let's assume the small ones are 100. That's 1,400 for Mr. Wright. But the math doesn't add up when you look at Shady's, because that's well over 3,500. Methinks that's bullshit. Justice. Sir, don't you find her comment interesting? In more ways than one, sir. I'd have it added to her testimony myself. Well, does the defense want the witness added to her testimony? Yes, I do think it deserves further scrutiny. Added to the testimony, which I knew where I was going with this. Farewell, witness, if you would be so kind. Ta-ta, Your Honor.
Objection!
You're sure it was the victim who won? Absolutely sure. Seems our new attorney is a bit confused. Glance at the photo is enough to tell you one, if you're not in kindergarten. Just for safety's sake, could you explain the problem to the court? Of course, Your Honor. The photo, I see small chips and I see large chips. Tell me, which were worth 1,000 points? Why, the big ones, of course. Duh. Oh, I thought so too. But then the totals don't add up. The totals? Let's review what the witness told us. Each man started with 3,500 points in chips. The combined total is worth 7,000 points. Yes, if my calculations are correct, that's C, 3 plus 1, carry the 5. They are, Your Honor. Now, look at this photo that allegedly shows all the chips. The big points chips are worth 1,000 and small are worth 100. And you add them up. How much is it? Way too much. To yourself, you dumbass. You're in kindergarten, are you? 10,600 points. Chips don't add up. This clearly contradicts what the witness testified. But why? How could this be? Exactly, Justice. Now that you know what, let's determine the why. Right. There's only one possible way to contradict it. Starting chip points were wrong. Chip count was wrong. Both were right. Each man began the game with 3,500 points. Both chips are indeed shown in the photograph. Then there can only be one answer. Well, what is it? The value of the chips. What's the other way around? What? Want to know why I think small chips worth 1,000 points, not the big ones? Madness! Utter madness! This is Sparta. Show me that photograph of chips again. There's 6 small chips and 10 large chips. Wait, it does make 7,000 if you add them up. Excellent work, Justice. It's almost as though you figured it out yourself. Well, I'm just glad I was the one who said it. But wait! The value of the chips may be different, but that changes nothing. Indeed, the victim did have a larger amount of chips still. Quality over quantity, Your Honor. Exactly. Small chips are 1,000 points each, and the large chips are 100. Let's do a little math. Add up the points on the other side of the table. Victim Mr. Smith had 2,900 points, and the defendant had 4,100. Well, now, it seems that Mr. Wright was winning that night after all. That's impossible. My client had even less reason to kill the victim. After all, he was winning. Yeah! Now, Mr. Riley, you must have known the true value of the chips, since you were there at the scene of the crime. Weren't you? It's still impressive. Order! Order! Appears our defendant had lost his motive. Mr. Wright's supposed defeat never happened. You must now ask yourself whether... Excuse me, what is it, Miss O'Reilly? I did not want to be saying this, but actually, you see, see what, Miss O'Reilly? What did we see? In left hand, the first cheat. A cheat? You don't mean a trick? Wait, or do you mean a scam? No, the same thing, you idiots. Yes, there was cheat in last hand. That's why game ends up with chips as the other. Great, just great. What's the problem? First we have lying, now cheating. Well, this case has certainly taken a turn. for the interesting. Witness, you will please testify at the court. Tell us about this cheating. And the final hand. This last hand, both men had full house. There's 4 of each card in deck, from ace to king. If you look at both men's hand, cheat is more obvious. The next moment, the game becomes whole agreement. The winning trick was exposed. He took the bottle in his hand, poor Mr. Smith. Wait. Why did you not tell the court about this from the beginning? I smell the cover up here. Well, folks, it's time to throw back the covers. Full house is a very high-scoring hand. Exactly too easy to make, in my experience. That alone is enough to suspect a less than scrupulous of tactics. Mr. Gavin, what's a full house? Lawyers these days, you don't know your poker. Can't say this bodes well for your case or career. What does that have to do with my career? Was that some kind of secret pokering? Justice. You know the terms 1 pair, 2 pair, 3 of kind, yes. Yeah, no problem. 2 cards of the same number make a pair, and 3 makes the 3 of a kind. Good. Now picture a hand with 1 pair and 1 with 3 of a kind. That's a full house. That doesn't sound easy to make. You can see each player's hand in this photo. Wow, they both have full houses. We forget there's an easy way to make a full house and go undefeated for 7 years. You cheat. Has ever heard of a professional con man losing when they cheat? That's a good point. Like he cheated, but he still lost. That doesn't make any sense. That's part of each card deck. But it looks fine to me. How was it clear? Well, defendant, he played the 5th ace. The 5th ace. I still remember both hands very well. Mr. Smith's hand had 3 aces. And Mr. X 2, but that's not what we see. Obviously, cheating was afoot. Perhaps I say a hand. It's so funny. Your Honor, perhaps this can be added to the testimony without Mr. Payne's joke. Very well. Witness added this to his testimony, please. Mr. Smith's hand had 3 aces, but if you look at the picture, we only see 4 aces.
Objection!
It appears the witness is mistaken. Mistaken? But my name... Look, this piece of evidence clearly contradicts what you said in your testimony. That's the photo of the chips, is it not? Justice. Perhaps you ought to explain your point in a way the judge can comprehend. Well, that's rude. In other words, use your finger to point out your point. Yes, please point out the contradiction in the photo. Well, the fact that there's 3 kings. Miss O'Reilly, in your statement, you made the following claim. But as you can clearly see, the victim's hand only held 2 aces. Well, maybe the witness is simply confused. Perhaps it was the defendant's hand that held the 3rd ace. It doesn't either, dumbass. Get another look at the evidence. You can see the defendant only had 2 aces in hand. Where's the 5th ace? Is he cheating alright? It's going on right here in this courtroom. 2 aces in each player's hand does make 4 in all. probably proof of cheating.
Wait, please. It is true. I have seen it. The face. There was cheating, I swear to you.
That's odd. She must be lying, yet she's more sincere than I've seen all day. You're right to trust your instincts, Mr. Gavin. Who knows what lies in store for us in the trail ahead? Your Honor, if I may, I have a suggestion. What might that be, Mr. Gavin? If you don't mind, perhaps we might examine the actual cards. The cards? Mr. Payne.
Yes?
Player's hands might that night were set aside as evidence, were they not? Defense would like to request that the cards be shown in court. Very well, the prosecution will submit this evidence. Which will you examine? Victim's hands or the defendant's hands? These cards don't prove cheating was going on. Nothing will. Oops. Yes, Your Honor. Then I used F5. You see, when I use F5, I get a whole new perspective. What's it now? Yeah, if that's not a hint, Mr. Gavin is colorblind. To make it correct. But what? Your Honor, look at this. Well, the victim's cards, the back is different color.
Eh? That's impossible. But they put the card in Mr. Right.
What was that, Mr. Riley?
No, yeah. I mean, I merely said that I have eek.
Your Honor, Mr. Gavin, yes? Tell me, what is the easiest way to cheat at poker? To cheat? I'll tell you. One merely needs a friend, a comrade, as they say. The dealer, wait, so you mean this one is Miss O'Reilly? She's the cheater. Professional, I'd wager.
Yeah!
Order! Order! Focus justice. Time to take advantage of her mistake. Wow, that was poorly phrased. Your Honor, please recall the testimony we had just heard.
That's impossible. But I put the card in Mr. Wright's hand.
Ergo, Miss Olga really conspired to cheat not with my client, but with the victim, Mr. Shady Smith. Not only did she cheat, she cheated poorly. Therefore, it's not hard to imagine the altercation between her and the victim. What? Wait, you don't mean defense isn't accusing the witness, Miss Olga really, are you? Time for justice! There were 3 people in the room at the time of the incident, and Mr. Wright isn't guilty. That means I am. Defense accuses the witness, Miss Olga O'Reilly, of murder. Wow. The fact that it landed perfectly. Mr. Payne, where's your witness, Miss Olga O'Reilly?
It appears she has lost consciousness, Your Honor.
Mr. Justice, Your Honor, seems you've presented a new possibility to the court. One suggesting a connection between the witness and the victim. That means this court cannot pronounce the verdict for the defendant at this time.
What?
I did it. I held out. I see no point in prolonging the trial this day. Prosecution will need to make further inquiries. Mr. Wright? You can't end the trial here, Your Honor. Not yet. What nonsense is the defendant spewing now? Think one of the cards has different colored back. Don't you wonder what that means? What are you doing, Mr. Wright? Raising objections right where you're about to get off the hook? Ridiculous. Mr. Payne, you of all people should know. Mr. Wright has the talent for the ridiculous. Very true. Perhaps we should get to the bottom of things. Let's clear up the facts about the game of that fateful night. As was said before, we altered between two decks that night. That was said before. The decks at the club had different colored blacks, blue and red. One color per deck. When I use different colored backs, use the same color, the two decks might get mixed. You use different colors and they still got mixed up. Use the red deck for the last game. That's what I see, but that's odd. For some reason, I had this impression that you were using the blue cards. Yeah, me too. Sure, someone said something about blue cards. However, in the end, one card of wrong color was mixed. Which means there was cheating. Yes, the card slipped into the deck would seem to indicate cheating. Yet this card raises two serious questions. Apollo. Yeah? Let's consider the first question, shall we? Think. In the last game, when was the card swapped? When? There are three broad examples here. Could have been swapped before the murder, during the murder, or after the murder. Well, yeah. Thanks for the new bulletin, Mr. Wright. Of course it was swapped, though. It might be as simple as you think, Mr. Payne, or it may not be. I'd like to hear what Apollo thinks first. When do you think the cards were swapped? When was the card swapped into the deck? Perhaps it happened after the murder. What is that? Ridiculous. What's the point of cheating after the cards have been shown?
Objection!
Yes, but tell me, how do you swap cards during the game? I'll take silly over impossible. Take it from me, son. There's a lot of silly in this world, but very little impossible. Oh, even when the backs of the cards are different colors. If you pulled that during the game, you'd be caught in no time. Ah, quite true. That would mean that the blue card in question was swapped after the hands were shown. After the murder. Okay, this is going past silly and straight into crazy. Let's begin. What's the point of cheating after the game is over? Who would do that? Who indeed? That's one of the mysteries before us. There's another? Yes, a simple yet decisive question must be asked. Who swapped the red card for a blue card? Who? The game and murder is done. The victim is dead. Only two remain in the room, alive that is. The defendant, Mr. Wright, and our witness, Olga O'Reilly. Okay, so who? What are you suggesting? That's hardly a logical conclusion, I admit. As a defense, I think it only makes sense for you to name her at this point. Yes, I know. But she was the one who dealt the cards, right? Just can't believe she would make the mistake. If the card was swapped during the game, it would be obvious. Something you'd like to share with the court, Mr. Wright? Oh, my apologies, Your Honor. I was just thinking of how much fun this all is. Fun? How about confusing? I have no idea what the defense is claiming, Your Honor. If the one who saw the cards was the defendant, and it wasn't Mr. O'Reilly, who was it? Yeah, well, that's the question, isn't it? Precisely. Huh? I believe we're about to see the case take a new direction. New direction? You could say it'll take a turnabout. We'll find that indeed after the murder. Someone swapped one of the cards in the victim's hand. That someone made two critical mistakes. Street going to tell us the first was swapping the wrong colored card. Because the one who did the swap didn't know two colors of the cards were being used. The other mistake was the number on the card. Right. Person placed the ace with a king. Whoever swapped it wasn't expecting there to be a fifth ace after all. All they knew was that the game led to being one to a full house. So they picked up a king from the table and swapped it in. But there's the one problem. According to our case record, this person doesn't exist. True, until now, but you have to admit the possibility of a fourth person. It's more than a possibility. There was someone else there that night at the scene of the crime. What? I believe the judge spoke truthfully earlier. You do make trials ridiculous, Mr. Wright. This trial has proceeded on one central assumption, namely that at the time of the incident there were only 3 people in the room. I believe that this new evidence, shall we say, overturns that assumption. The problem is that you chose to conceal this information to the court. I suppose that is a problem, yes. Court is adjourned for a brief recess. Mr. Gavin, I'll see you in my chambers during the recess. Certainly, Your Honor. Very well. Trial will resume in 20 minutes. That was quite unexpected, Mr. Wright. To suddenly claim that there was another person at the scene of a crime like that. I must ask, is it the truth? Well now, I think you know the answer to that. Being mysterious, are we? Sadly, we have no time for mysteries. It only asks that you leave the defending to your defense in the future. Otherwise, I cannot guarantee the outcome. I see you haven't mellowed one bit, Christoph. Justice. Yes, your sir. The judge has summoned me to his chambers, so carry on without me. You did it well, Apollo. Can I ask you something? Sure. This locket you wear, is that really yours, Mr. Wright? Ah, you're wondering about the victim's disappearing locket. Here, you can take a look at it. That's a photo of my daughter in there. Trucy! She's so adorable. I'm just surprised to hear you had a daughter. Most people are. Perhaps you'll meet her one of these days. One more question. The one who cheated that night, was it you? What do you think? Huh? You know what happened 7 years ago, what I did. It's unreasonable to think I might cheat. I never, honestly, but it is odd that he might manage to go undefeated 7 whole years. Want to know something? There's only one game when you can be dealt bad cards all night and still win. Poker. Eh? You see, poker's all about reading your opponent. In that way, it's a lot like a court case. Poker's like a court trial law. Figure out your opponent is thinking and you win. Well, yeah, but that's harder than it sounds. I think not. Because they might conceal it. Everyone reveals their true thoughts in the end. Their body language becomes a valuable source of information. You're kidding. That witness, for instance, Miss O'Reilly. She would touch the back of her neck during certain parts of her testimony. Did you notice? No. Come on, who would notice that? Words, habits, twitches, it's all information for the reading. That's the secret to winning, Apollo. Someone taught me that, and well, now I pass that secret to you. But I'm not worthy. I mean, there's no way I pick up on these signals. No, you can do it. Huh? You just don't know it yet. What's he talking about? But you will, soon. Almost forgot. one more thing about this case. You should know, I haven't told the truth to anyone yet. What? I knew it. And my reasons, of course, all shall be revealed. And Apollo, I need you to be there defending me. I need your power. I am power. I had no idea my cords and steels were that special. It's time. Real trial starts now. Do your best. To be continued! April 20th, 12:14 8 p.m. District Court, courtroom number 2. Court will now reconvene. Has our witness, Mr. Olga, really recovered? Yes, Your Honor. Well, she's regained consciousness. Perhaps we can hear her version of events again. That's the thing. You see, she's quite fatigued. You're looking a bit fatigued yourself, Mr. Payne. Sadly, fatigue is insufficient grounds for refusing to testify or prosecute. The defense would like to request Miss O'Reilly take the stand. Very well, witness will take the stand. Perhaps you could repeat your name and profession. Or perhaps you'd rather admit that you're a poor liar and a poor loser. Me? Not. Name's so good, really. That's the truth. I'm a pro dealer. People call me Olga Quick Fingers O'Reilly. Well, that sounds kinky. Oh, really? I want to know something else. I'm not really Russian. My last name sounds like O'Reilly. Ba-dum-bum-ba-dum-bum. There, that's the truth. Hope you're satisfied. Witness, you will tell the court what you really were up to that night. Fine, I'll talk. We had a plan, see? Let me remind you that you're currently under oath. Any further fabrications have serious consequences. Fine. Like I said, I'm a pro. That guy Smith hired me to do my best, what I do best. I was planted at the Borscht Bull Club several days prior to the night of the game, as a waitress. So you were in cahoots with the victim. Not that he needed my help. Smith is a well-known poker player in some circles. But winning wasn't the main purpose of the game. It's about destroying the legend, the unbeatable Mr. Right. Playing was simple, elegant, really. See, we set up a trap of sorts. It's playing a card in Wright's pocket beforehand, and then deal 5 aces during one of their games. When their hands were revealed, Smith would call him out and search Wright. He would then pull out one of the planted cards, and the trap would snap shut. He swapped the cards. Exposed as a cheater and losing on top of it. It would have made a great double play. Just like that, the legend would have be dashed to pieces. Indeed, getting caught red-handed as cheating would cast out all the players' wins. A 7-year legend, destroyed by one single card. That was the plan. Oh, really? Troll. But it appears you made quite the mistake. A mistake? I agree, the trap was elegant. And what happened after to that planted card? Hey, that's right. He's lucky, I'll give him that. He'd have to slip free from a trap laid by Olga Quick Fingers O'Reilly. That still sounds very lesbian. Oh, really? Witness would be much cuter if she dispensed the evil mastermind shtick. Cute. Who wants to be cute? Not cute. I'm bad. You hear me? Bad. Bad to the bone. When you're through being bad, perhaps you could testify to the court. Tell us about this trap and how it's sprung. That night I planted the card like I was supposed to. And Bright lost the last hand, just like he was supposed to. Then Smith searched him. But the planted card was gone. Trap failed. Next moment, Wright picked up the ball and swung it. Wasn't me, Smith. It was the no-good cheating defendant. I mean, he wasn't the one who was cheating. Surprisingly frank testimony that'll still leaves us mostly in the dark. Trap was perfect, I tell you, perfect. That Ron cheater hadn't messed it up. Look who's talking. Well, the testimony, for what it's worth, it's all yours, Mr. Justice. With witnesses like her who needs criminals. With defendants like Mr. Wright who needs prosecutors. Wait, isn't that a little odd? What's odd? You searched Mr. Wright thoroughly. You found nothing, which means he didn't cheat, which means he had no reason to strike the victim. Well, what was that just now? I sensed something. Something wrong, Mr. Justice. Nothing, Your Honor. What to do? Should I press a little harder? Miss O'Reilly, you're hiding something. What are you talking about? Me? Quick fingers, really? Hiding something? Defense will refrain from the baseless accusations. One question for the witness then. Say you saw the moment the defendant hit the victim. Is that true? Of course it's true. I did see it, honest. I saw it when Mr. Wright hit him. With my own eyes, I saw it. What's this weird vibe I'm getting? The witness she would touch the back of her neck during certain parts of her testimony. Why are you staring intensely at her? Whoa, what is going on? The sensation. Coming into focus. There, that twitch, so clear. It's like I could perceive her habit like I couldn't before.
Gotcha!
Why are you staring so intensely at her? Miss Sorelli, perhaps you were unaware of this yourself. Unaware of what? Whenever you get to a certain part of your testimony, you touch the back of your neck with your right hand. My neck? So what? Well, indeed, Justice. I didn't notice anything of the sort. When she says that part of her testimony, she subconsciously recalls something. Her body reacts to a memory and she touches her neck. I'm sure of it. A memory? Would someone care to explain what you started babbling about? This is highly unusual. It's not unusual to be loved by. But let's ask the defense. You claim the witness remembers something. Maybe you have evidence of this memory to show us. Rabbit is scratching her neck whenever she talks about the moment of the crime. What would you remind her? Mr. Willie, whenever you recall the crime, that night you scratched your neck. Notice it happens when you think about the moment of the crime. There must be some reason behind the habit. Leave the weapon that left an indescribable remark.
Take that!
Whenever she talks about the moment of the crime, she touches her neck. What reminds us more of that moment than this bottle? But something doesn't fit. If you were the only witness to the crime, why would that make you touch your neck and like you're in pain? Oh, what's he talking about? It's Mr. Smith, the victim who was hit, not you. This is a cross-examination, not cross-wild conjecture. The witness's habits, they're completely irrelevant. Justice. I'll admit I'm a bit confused myself. It's certainly a unique cross-examination. I'll explain later. Trust me. Now it's our only chance to talk to her. Miss O'Reilly, please testify in detail about the moment of the crime. The very moment.
Yet, I'm knowing nothing.
We know you're not Russian. Witness will testify, please, now. Fine. He's the one that did it. Didn't let him out of my sight until the cops got there. You seem uneasy.
You try standing up here.
Hands are drying all over the place. Must be getting warm. Tell me, after the crime, what was the defendant like?
Well, he must have been stunned by the way of his crime.
Standing dazed at the table until the cops came. Intriguing. I believe you've got all the testimony you're going to get out of the witness. So what do you think about her testimony? Flawed. It's basically bogus. Contradicts the evidence.
What's that?
Well, show us the evidence, Mr. Justice. This evidence that you claim contradicts the testimony. She didn't let him out of her sight until the cops got there. You know, that's bullshit because he called the cops. Miss O'Reilly, we have a record here that clearly contradicts what you said. States that the police were alerted by a report from the defendant. We know that defendant left the room, climbed the stairs, and made that phone call from the first floor. So, explain how you kept your eyes on the defendant when he left the room entirely.
Eek!
The man who picked up the bottle and swung it that night wasn't the defendant. Showdown time. You dirty cheat. Check his pockets now. It's gone. Card's gone. You lose. Ah! Just then, Smith grabbed the ball from next to right, and he hit me. You, some master of cheating you turned out to be.
Eek!
I came to. Victim was already dead, is that it? That's why I couldn't reveal who I really was. If it came out that I was in league with Smith, I'd be a suspect for sure. Well, where does this leave us?
Madness. This is madness. I'm dreaming.
This is Sparta pain. It must have been me who was hit by the bottle, and I'm imagining all of this. It appears our prosecution has with sinned. Frankly, I can't blame him. Mr. Gavin, what do you think about this turn of events? Mr. Gavin, sir? I believe that is the defense. That's the defense in this case. We are compelled to call Miss O'Reilly a big fat liar.
What?
There were three were in that room that night of the murder, defendant, victim, and her. She has a motive. Motive? Her plot-foiled witness got into an argument with her client, Mr. Smith. The denouement of that argument was murder. What? It didn't. No killer. It's a trap. Someone's trying to frame me. What tangled webs we weave when we practice to deceive. So tangled we catch ourselves in the process. Mr. Wright? It's such a hasty conclusion. It's not like you, Christoph Gavin. What are you saying? Why not consider another possibility? That there was another person in the room that night. Right, like Mr. Wright was saying before recess. A single card was swapped into the victim's hand after the murder. And the one who swapped the cards didn't know two colors of cards were being used. The fourth person. Huh, this theory again. Your fourth person doesn't exist. Indeed. That's why I decided to bring this case to court. Here, where there's no escape, no chance for deception. It's a perfect place to catch a real criminal. The real criminal? And we're in luck. A clue of the real criminal's identity was provided to us. And right at the beginning of the trial, no less. What? Apollo, perhaps you know what I'm talking about? I'm sorry. Remember what I said? Fourth person who swapped the cards made a critical error. He or she wasn't considering the back colors on the backs of cards. Right. But how could such an obvious mistake occur? Cards used for the last game were red. Yet, there is one person here in our court who thought those cards were blue. Yeah, I had the impression too, but why? Well, Apollo, I think you can figure out who it was. It's not me, I swear. Who is the fourth person? I don't always get put on the spot like this. Let's hear what the defense has to say, Your Honor. Who was it? Who thought the cards in the final game were blue? It was Christoph. He brought it up. As I expected. Your eyes and ears are as sharp as your hair. I was right. Christoph Gavin, you were the fourth person that night. But, of course, Mr. Gavin knows the color of the cards. How would he? As you can see, the photo of the crime is black and white. Can't tell which cards are blue, on the floor or the table. But look, you can see the colors on this photo. Yes, but when he said the cards were blue, it was well before the evidence came to light. It's true the defendant was engaged in a game of poker with a victim. It was only that a game in the pure sense, a competition, Your Honor. A competition? Yes, a test of wits, sound clash of passions. Only the cards, their backs wreathed in blue flame, know its final outcome. He's colorblind. Oh, Christoph. Mr. Gavin? Mr. Gavin, is something the matter? No, nothing. Excuse me, it was just so sudden. Right, you aren't seriously accusing me, are you? Oh, Christoph. No, even if I'd never take a joke this far. This has gone beyond ridiculous, beyond dumb. This is insanity! The defendant is accusing his defense attorney for murder. I assure you, I'm quite sane. But what possible connection could Mr. Gavin have to the victim? I wasn't aware that I had a connection to Mr. Smith either. Yes, but Mr. Gavin and the victim I have never met. Well, what if they have? Huh? There is a possibility, after all. We may have met that night before the game started. What are you suggesting? Is that true? Mr. Wright was staying silent about? Well, only one thing to do. Mr. Wright, defense would like to request that you testify to the court. The defense would like to request no such thing. Mr. Gavin, testimonies must relate to the case. How could anything happening before that game of poker be related? I'm not sure I follow, Mr. Gavin. As I explained before, the defense believes that Miss O'Reilly. Am I to assume you speak for Mr. Justice in this case? He is the defense, not you. Mr. Justice, the matter of Mr. Wright's testimony is up to you. Oh, okay. Does the court, in your opinion, need to hear Mr. Wright's testimony? Well, duh. So Mr. Wright's strategy was playing this all along. Intend to see it through. Defense would like to request that Mr. Wright testify to the court. That too, Justice. You betray me, your teacher. Sorry, Mr. Gavin. This isn't about loyalty. It's about the truth. Very well. Defendant Mr. Wright will take the stand, please. That evening, Christoph and I had dinner. We sat at the table in this photograph. J. Smith walked 5 minutes later after he left. When the trap failed, Smith hit the waitress. The girl was knocked out cold and Smith was uncontrollable and left to call the police. When I returned, he was dead, blood streaming from the cut in his forehead. That's when I made another phone call to defense attorney Gavin. Mr. Gavin, you were at the Borscht Bowl Club that night? I dine with him rather frequently. And he talked about the defendant on the phone directly after the murder? Quite against my will, and become involved in murder. Thought I might be in need of a lawyer, so we called him. You were planning this all along, weren't you? Right. Just because you wanted to drag me into your little murder trial. The only thing I want is the truth. As I did back then, and now. I thought my office was doing you a favor when we took your defense. Appears I was wrong. Very well, the defense may cross-examine a witness. Justice. Sir, he's lying. You're going to expose him. Understood, sir. Mr. Gavin versus Mr. Wright, this can't, well, why can't I have a normal trial? Because this is freaking Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, or Apollo Justice Ace Attorney, I guess.
Hold it!
About this failed trap. This is the same trap that Miss Olga Aurelia mentioned. I hate it. The only thing I don't like is the fact that there's so many freaking, flashbacks. Like, this literally happened 5 minutes ago. Okay, you remember that thing that literally just fucking happened? Yeah, it's a harmless prank, in essence. And by a quirk of fate, it happened to discover it. A quirk? I happened to put my hand in my pocket. Found the card. Card she planted. Yes. Yes, I snuck a peek at it and found it was a 5 of hearts. I had a feeling something might have happened so I disposed of the card before the game. Disposed? Where? There's an empty bottle of grape juice I had been drinking right next to me. There's a card inside the bottle. An empty bottle of grape juice. Murder weapon? Oh. Yes, I rolled it up and shoved it in. The colored glass makes it hard to see. Well, wits between the deceiver and would-be deceived. But if you look at this bottle, there's nothing in it. In fact, it's not even bloody. You would think it'd be bloody if it was used to, kill someone. That sounds like terrific drama. Card inside of a murder weapon. That's strange. Did the police miss in their investigation? Maybe I'll take a look. That's right. The poker head of courtroom number 3 approves of the Bell of Wits. Please revise your testimony. But the ball we have, it's empty. Oops. I have to examine it first. I'm a dumbass. There we go. There we go. I had to examine it first. Mr. 8, if I may. Yes? I've examined the bottle and I don't see any card in here. Huh, no? Well, Mr. Wright, surely isn't all you have to say for yourself. Can't say that I know what happened to the card. Did put it in the bottle. Perhaps a 5th person came and took it out. Oh, I thought a 6th person could have helped. Mr. Gavin, Mr. Wright is your client. My apologies, Your Honor. Won't have you disparaging our investigation either. We looked inside that bottle, there's nothing. What's going on? Mr. Wright hoodwinking us again? Did the card just disappear? In any case, please continue the cross-examination. Afraid decisive contradictions call for decisive evidence. Oh, push him harder, Justice. Break him. It's just you and the witness in the rain. Go for the KO. I have a feeling we're not on our client's side anymore. Well, how do you know there was look at this photo. How did you know there was blood on his forehead?
Objection!
Mr. Wright, if I may. Yeah? Take a look at this photograph. See the victim here? He's wearing a hat. I wouldn't think you would see blood on his forehead. Good point. Justice. See me point out inconsistency, put a little more oomph into it. Mr. Wright, can you explain this to the court? I forgot to mention something. I was the one who put it back on his head. Eh? You? You put the hat on the dead man's head? You wore it through our entire poker game. Calling the police when I returned to the scene. His head was in full view. Shining bright just like that photograph. And he picked his hat up off the floor, put it on his head. Why do you do such a thing? All I can say is that I'm sorry. That's the only thing I touched at the crime scene. So Mr. Riley didn't see it? It being the victim's head? I think not, she was out cold. I believe I was the only one who witnessed his head. Here we go again. Mr. Gavin? Pardon. Just seems our client is determined to lie his way through the case. Hey, he's still our client, isn't he? I believe that's enough of that, Mr. Gavin. This witness's testimony is more of a travesty. It's filled with lies. Beginning to see why you came to lose your attorney badge 7 years ago. Well, you certainly have a unique way of treating your clients, Christoph. Never knew. I believe it was you who threw the first stone. Mr. Wright, if you intend to tell the truth about this case, it's now or never. Don't be misled. I haven't told a single lie here. Eh? When I noticed the trap, I put the card in a bottle to dispose of it. When I put the hat back on the victim's head, let's just say I had a reason for doing that as well. A reason? That reason is right here. Your cell phone. That's right. I recalled that I spoke to defendant attorney Gavin to calling the police, just in case I recorded our conversation. What's this? Now that we're all here, I see no reason why I shouldn't play this back for the court. Christoph seemed to be in a bit of trouble. What's this? Game not going well. Yeah, something like that. That gentleman who challenged you turned out to be no good. Not to be good, turned out to be dead. Some of them hard. Someone cracked that flawless bone china plate. It wasn't you, was it? Me, please. Cops would be here in New Orleans. In your hands. Should come to that. Bone china plate. Kind of porcelain, very smooth and shiny. Not plate, but pate. I believe it's referring to a certain gentleman's balding forehead. Court appreciates the defendant's discretion in not indicating my forehead. Wait a second, something's not right about the phone call. So, after Gavin ate dinner with you, he left the Borch Club? Oh, certainly. Then how did he know? When did he see this bone china pate? Oh, that's right. Yes. That was when I began to see my good friend in a different light. Troubled, I returned to the crime scene. I spotted Mr. Smith's head again. I realized exactly what was wrong. Well, Mr. Gavin, the stage has been set. Perhaps you would like to explain this to the court. Exactly how did you come to your privileged knowledge of the victim's head? So, this is your reason. Reason you put the victim's head back on. Your point, Mr. Gavin? It's come down to this, has it, Phoenix Wright? Order! I will have order, Mr. Payne. Yes, Your Honor. I believe this court has been left with no other choice. Are you prepared to hear defense attorney Gavin's testimony? Well, is the prosecutor right? Very well. Break for 10 minutes, for which Mr. Gavin will take to stand for a cross-examination. Are we clear on that? Crystal clear, Your Honor. Very well. This will be the final recess for today. Mr. Gavin and Mr. Wright are both in the judge's chamber. Who have thought today would turn out like this? May I? Hey, Tracy. What? Hello, sir. Please pick a card. What's this about? Is this one okay? Excellent. I have a message for you. The last hand is about to be played. You'll need a trump card to make it. Trump card? The card you have chosen is magical. Use it wisely. The game is yours. That's all. An ace. Where did I remember that card from? Mr. Smith's hand adds 3 aces. Mr. Wright's 2. 5 aces in total. It's true. I've seen it. The 5th ace. I was cheating, I swear to you. The missing 5th ace. Wait, this blotch of red. Is this blood? You have your trump card. Now it's up to you to cut the deck and draw the truth. My father's fate's in your hands. I know you can do it. But the same card is my trump card for finding the truth. Duh. I fell deep into thought, and my mind raced to understand what that all meant. I girl. Seen her recently, but where? That's why I made the connection. Trucy right. Bloody ace. Or will now reconvene. Defense Attorney Gavin, will you please take the stand? Now then, if you would, Mr. Payne. Yes, Your Honor. Well, Mr. The witness stated his name and occupation. Is as far as necessary, Your Honor? Believe me, far stranger things have come gone in this courtroom. Fine, I'll play along. First, there's one thing we need to have made clear. How did you know about the secret beneath the victim's hat? The secret, I'm guessing, means the fact that Mr. Smith is bald. Forgive my curiosity, but what's this fellow's head? Your Honor seems to have an inordinate interest in it.
Objection!
Oh, hey, Phoenix. I wouldn't call it inordinate, Mr. Gavin. Mr. Wright. What do you think you're doing, Wright? I don't think you look different from the other side. You know what I mean, Apollo? Speaking of looking from the other side, let's consider something for a second. Victim wore that hat all night, never once taken it off except for that one time. The one time being the instant he was hit. Oh, when Mr. Wright returned from reporting the crime, the hat was lying on the floor. Mr. Wright picked it up and placed it on the victim's head. In other words, in order to have seen Mr. Smith's bald head, he would have had been there when the hideout at the time of the crime. In other words, I must be the real killer. Is that what you're trying to say? Not bad, Apollo. Mr. Gavin, I'm afraid that I haven't been entirely honest to the court. What? Oh, I assure you, I had the noblest of intentions. I did it all to protect my client, Mr. Wright. Yet, I'm afraid in the current situation I see little reason to hide anything. Very well, allow me to tell you the truth of what happened that night. Finally, you may begin your testimony. Tell us how you were involved in the events of that fateful night. The rage I sensed in that man that night troubled me, so I returned to the club. Went down to the basement and peeked through the hideout window. It must have been right after the murder took place. The victim was dead as he appeared in the photo. Bald head, an unconscious girl, and Wright holding a bottle in his hand. Since that was not the best place for me to be at the time, and so I left. That's when the call came from Wright. So, you witnessed the murder? For better or worse, I missed the actual moment of the deed. Mr. Gavin, may I remind you that you're on Mr. Wright's defense team. Testimony is clearly disadvantaged to your client. What else could I say? Standing on the witness stand, after all. So you are, Mr. Gavin. You had to testify just as he did. You had to tell them you saw the scene of the crime through the window. Mr. Wright, you had to say that, because that was the only probable window of opportunity. Right, Apollo? Oh. Mr. Wright, the defense should do the cross-examination of the defendant. Mr. Justice, are you prepared? Yes, Your Honor. I can't believe I'm going up against Mr. Gavin. This trial's getting weirder and weirder. The rage I sense, blah blah blah.
Hold it!
were the only three at the scene of the crime? Yes, as far as I saw at least. Then we're back where we started. Killer is the defendant. Who else could it have been? Why didn't you talk to the police? 2 reasons. First, I didn't actually witness the moment of the crime. Second, my office was asked to defend right. Even after seeing what I'd seen, I couldn't abandon my friend.
Objection!
There must have been someone else at the crime. Justice, I just said what I saw. No one, not a soul. But that goes against what Mr. H said. Yes, the mysterious 4th person. It would conveniently be the true killer, I suppose. Let's see we agree, Mr. Gavin. Let me pose a question then. Tell me, what possible reason did the real killer have to swap the cards in the victim's hand? Perhaps you can show us a reason why such a thing would be necessary. The card was supposedly swapped out at fifth ace, right? Well, Mr. Justice, the question of why the killer would swap out the card has been raised. Yeah, we have evidence. Illegal evidence, but evidence. Defense would like to present evidence then showing why the card was swapped out. Go ahead and point out your reason.
Take that!
My reason is this. Is that an ace? Why? Why is got blood on it? Right next to the spade. What? This is insane. Why wasn't I told about this? Why? Could this be the missing 5th ace? Inconceivable. How could you? What are you doing with that card? Well, that's the thing. Why is Mr. Gavin so upset? It's just a fishy card from some fishy girl. Oh, that card? It's mine. That is, I picked it up at the Borscht Club that night after the murder occurred. Give it to my daughter. Cards that are stuck in trade after all. No. Impossible. Unacceptable. The court can't accept this evidence. It's fraud. Fraud. How can you be so sure? What? I would think the only person who could claim it was fraud would be the one who took the real card from the scene of crime. The real killer. Allow me to elaborate. With the trace of blood, what's the reason? The reason for the killer to take a card from the scene of crime. Where are you going with this? Take another look at the photo at the evidence victim's head. At the moment of the crime, his head fell to the floor. A trickle of blood ran from the forehead down to the back of his head. Couldn't a drop of blood have fallen onto one of the cards? I suppose. The killer then took the card and hid the blood. Regardless, the evidence is non-permissible. Oh, right. Regardless of how you wasted the last 7 years, you used to be a lawyer. You know what a serious crime it is to conceal evidence. Oh, we can discuss the finer points of our legal system later. What's important now is that I've answered your question. What are you talking about? You wanted to know why the killer would have taken a card from the scene. And now I've told you. That's one drop of blood would have been decisive evidence, you see.
Objection!
This is baseless conjecture. Baseless.
Objection!
Well, I assure you it's quite based. What? It's amazing, really. How a single drop of blood on a single card can lead us to the truth. It's quite simple. Well, Apollo. Yeah? Try picturing the scene of the crime. In your head. We're going 3D! Murder took place in the hideout. The body of the luckless victim was found at the poker table, and before the killer swapped the card out, it was a single card with a drop of blood in the victim's hand. Given this, there's one decisive problem with this scene. Well, what is it? Whose position in this diagram doesn't fit? Victims, killers, or the witnesses? Whose point position doesn't fit? Well, the victims, of course. How would Blood get on the card if he was facing... Well, isn't the victim's position the problem? I don't follow your logic. Well, look, the victim was struck in the head. It's sending him back in his chair. I think the blood would fall behind the body, not the table in front of him. Take a look at the photo again. Blood in this position. The blood would fall onto the floor, not the cards. Wait, that's right. So, what does this mean? Incidentally, we were sitting in swivel chairs. Swivel chairs? Oh, man. Apollo, try turning the chair around. The chair's facing the other way? It would have to be. So we have assumed that at the time of the murder, victim's chair was facing away from the table. When Mr. Wright returned to informing the police which way the chair facing, came back, the body was facing as seen in the photo. That means the killer turned the chair back around. Let's take the next step. Look at the diagram once more. No, the victim was facing away from the table at the time of the murder, but this creates another significant contradiction. Again? Let's test your reasoning skills, shall we? Apollo, since the location in this diagram contradicts our new and understanding of crime. The killer. The victim was struck from the front, correct? Indeed. Well, wouldn't it be hard for the killer to kill him from the front? Seeing where the indicator currently is, I don't think that quite hard, yes. Yes, but what you're saying makes no sense. Why the victim suddenly turned to face the wall in the middle of the game? I believe a sufficient reason will soon come to light. What? There's something in this diagram that makes far less sense, actually. Look again at the diagram. Apollo, victim was struck while he was saying that the shown. Where would the assailant been saying? Try marking on the diagram. But there's no room to put a mark where the killer should be. Don't worry, let's think it through. We know what the victim was facing towards the wall. That's the only thing we know for sure. Try to forget everything else. He'd have to be where the case is. The killer had to be standing well here. You get points for flair, but that's all about all you get. I thought I was onto something there too. I hardly need to point out that standing there would be impossible. The victim was facing a solid cupboard. Why are you claiming the killer climbed the cupboard and hit them from above? It's simple logic, really. This was the only place the killer could have been. And that means, at the moment of the crime... Wait, I know. The moment of the crime, the cupboard wasn't there. What is this now? I mean, that's the only explanation, right, Mr. Gavin? Your Honor, suggestion for the defense. We should arrange to examine the cupboard. Bailiff, send the team to the crime scene immediately. Have them try to remove the cupboard. Your Honor? What? There's one more thing your men should look for. Please give this to the bailiff. Huh? Yes, I see. You do belong to the courtroom after all. In the courtroom after all, Mr. Wright. I did my best. But let's forge ahead here while we wait. Look at the diagram once again, and it's been changed. Killer was standing here at the time of the crime. The cupboard wasn't here. Which means, Apollo, try moving the cupboard. It'd be in front of the window. Thank you. As you can see, the cupboard was the problem. At the time of the murder, it had been as shown here. Now everything in place to reconstruct the moment of the crime. Oh my! What's this? What is this now? Look at the diagram of the crime once more. Appears we found yet another contradiction. What I believe to be the final contradiction. In fact, oh dang. Something about our line of deduction is rapidly approaching a logical conclusion. Now then, Mr. Justice, please point out this new contradiction. The victim the killer or the witness? The second witness. Well, it's the second witness. How could they have seen the crime if the window was blocked? About this cupboard. Are we all okay assuming it was moved? Sure, why not? Well, if it was, something really doesn't fit. The cupboard would have completely covered up the window. Ah, that's right. Someone standing outside wouldn't have been able to see in. Someone like Mr. Gavin. What did you say? Oh, he's the coolest defense in the West. Losing his cool. Don't expect me to play along with your little game, right? It's only a game until someone gets killed, Mr. Gavin. Someone was. Well, the window to that room blocked by the cupboard. So, Mr. Gavin, perhaps you'd like to explain to the court. Exactly where did you witness the crime scene? Excuse me, Your Honor. Order. This is a court of law and I will have order. We just received word from our investigation team. They examined the cupboard at the hideout, Your Honor. Oh, and what did they find? Well, Your Honor, it turns out there's a secret passage behind it. What? Yes, I believe I mentioned something about the story today before. This is one of the tricks of the room many of our regulars know about. I remember saying something about that. Now that he mentions it, a secret passage is a handy thing to have when you're engaged in illegal goings-on. Never know when you might need to duck away from the eyes of the law. So the room has a secret passage. Where does it go? The other side connects to the restaurant above. The underworld bosses get away from the cops and enjoy a cold bowl of borscht, no doubt. Just like our killer. You see where our line of simply deductive reasoning has led us. See it, but I don't believe it. The girl wasn't kidding when she said they needed this trump card for the last hand. At this point of the time of the murder, the window was blocked. The victim's hat was only off his head for a few moments between Smith's murder and Mr. Wright's return from calling cops. In other words, the only place anyone could have seen the victim's head was from inside the hideout. Well, Mr. Gavin, come on, say something. Dare I ask what really happened that night? Actually, I think we can probably figure it out ourselves at this point. The victim had a date with Mr. Smith, a date of destiny. There he crouched, hidden in the secret passageway under the cupboard, behind the cupboard. Holding his breath, waiting for the exact right moment. Then the change came in and took it. Ah. Why did you do that? Wait here, I'll get help. This Oko really was out cold, struck by Mr. Smith. As time was soon to come, Mr. Wright went upstairs to call the cops, leaving Shady Smith alone in the hideout with an unconscious dealer. Our killer stepped out from the secret passage. The victim must have heard the cupboard side by side. He wheeled his chair around to look, and after the deed was done, the criminal must have seen the blood on the card. He would, of course, realized the need to destroy the evidence. That single spot of blood told the whole story of the crime. Too bad for him he didn't linger any longer in the hideout. If he had, he might have noticed the cards on the floor, and the fact that they were all red. Well, it seems this trial has taken yet another turn. I'm truly sorry to see this day come, Mr. Gavin. Mr. Gavin? Mr. Payne? Yes, Your Honor. Prosecution will continue its investigation. As for Mr. Phoenix Wright, defendant, he is hereby cleared of all suspicion.
Eh?
Believe me when I say that I don't believe this is happening, Mr. Gavin. But I'm afraid circumstances call for me to issue a warrant for your arrest immediately. Oh, no need to apologize. I rather enjoyed myself. It's not every day you get to witness a legendary attorney's dirty tactics firsthand. Your point, Mr. Gavin. Frankly, Your Honor, I'm shocked that a person of your caliber would be taken by such a low-grade parlor trick. Excuse me? Defendant is cleared of all suspicion. This is hardly the time for jokes, Your Honor. Mr. Wright hasn't proved anyone's guilt or innocence here. What he has done is use illegal evidence to blame someone else. Not just anyone else. Being his own defense attorney. Illegal evidence? Let me ask you, Mr. Gavin. Is there really still any reason at present to suspect me of wrongdoing? Of course. This bottle, for instance. Bottle of grape juice Mr. Wright was drinking. How do you intend to explain why the fingerprints? And not just any fingerprints, am I right, Mr. Payne? Actually, yes. The fingerprints on the bottle were upside down. Seem to recall this being an issue earlier. The court, in this case, demanded an explanation. I can think of only one reason why it would be hold the bottle upside down. That's it, someone with the bottom of a bottle. Well, Your Honor. See how the caught fish squirms at the last. Well, Apollo? Yes? Your boss seems quite concerned about this bottle. But I'm sure you can come up with a suitable explanation. Yeah, just like what? Why would anyone grab a bottle upside down other than to... Don't let him trick you into thinking his explanation is the only legitimate one. Is there really another? Take another look at the court record. I believe you'll find a simple answer there. How about you just say the answer in plain words? Be hasty to deliver a verdict on unanswered questions, indeed. Well, Mr. Gavin said that the court, in this case, demanded an explanation. Don't worry, justice won't leave this until justice is done. Perhaps the defense would care to enlighten the court. Fingerprints? Well, that's obvious. You'd have to pick it up upside down from the crate. It's actually easier to show you than to explain, Your Honor. Place that bottle on the floor next to your chair. Excuse me, on the floor. Yes, now reach down and pick it up. Without getting it out of your chair. See, you naturally go to pick up the ball by its neck. With your fingers upside down. Look at this photograph taken on the night of the murder. The defendant, Mr. Wright, sat there, playing piano, bottles of grape juice on the floor next to the side of his piano bench. How would he would have naturally picked them up upside down several times. Wow, I can't believe it was that simple. Clark dinner that evening, Christoph. I was drinking my usual juice then, too. Basically used the bottle on the table to do the deed. But then you must have remembered. You went and picked up one of the bottles from under the piano. You switched the bottles. You took one of Mr. Wright's bottles and made it to look like the murder weapon. Order! 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 What do you have to say about these charges, Mr. Gavin? Fascinating. So this is the legendary attorney's famed tactic of misdirection. What? He claimed that I switched the bottle. Where's your proof? Proof? Well, that's, as I thought, more baseless conjecture. I'm afraid your bottle of proof is quite empty. I wouldn't be so sure about that. Your Honor, when he initiated the investigation of the hideout earlier. Do you recall I requested an additional investigation? Ah, yes. Have your memo about it here. Retrieve the bottles from under the piano at the Porsche Club. And here's one of the bottles in question. What are you going to do? Test that for fingerprints too? I'd be surprised if there were any on this, but his. Kevin probably wouldn't make such an obvious mistake true. The bottle wouldn't bear any trace of anything. Say, Apollo? Yeah? I mean, go ahead and examine that bottle. Why? Just humor me. Mr. Wright, that bottle will solve this case once and for all. What? That's some bottle. Well, there's the Five of Hearts. There's something inside the bottle. What's this? That card. It can't be. Recall that unpleasant woman's testimony for a moment. Miss Olga, really? Yes. Her little swindling devochka. That night I planted a card like I was supposed to. Mr. Ray lost it was here, as it was supposed to. Then Smith searched him, but the planted card was gone. Wait, this isn't... You're telling me this is the planted card you disposed of? The one you mentioned in the piece of testimony? Yes, we've been over this. I haven't put my hand in my pocket and found the card. It's like peeking and found it with the Five of Hearts. I had a feeling something might happen, so I disposed of the card before the game. Disposed? Where? There's some ball of grape juice I had been drinking beside me. To a ball inside, card inside the bottle. Five of Hearts. This is the card. The bottles were swapped. And the only one who could have done that was the fourth person in the club. You, Mr. Christoph Gavin. That's all. Is this your idea of revenge, Phoenix, right? Revenge? Revenge for the events that took away your attorney's badge 7 years ago. My past is like my logic, straight and true. Nothing's changed. All I did was point the finger of justice in the proper direction. Fine. I'm glad we could have this little tete-a-tete, right? This is insane. What about me? Don't I get to prosecute anyone? I believe it's time we finally come to an end to our trial. Mr. Payne, do you have a report for us on Christoph Gavin? He's admitted everything. We're processing his arrest now. You see, still, one has to wonder why he would do such a thing. Didn't even have a connection to the victim, none that we know of. Mr. Wright, have you anything to add? I'm afraid I can't shed any more light on the matter. About this victim, Mr. Shady Smith. His occupation was listed as traveler. Odd profession, to be sure. And that's all we know about him. I'll arrange for a follow-up investigation, Your Honor. Good. Mr. Wright? Yes? 7 years, and you still haven't lost your touch. Christoph Gavin was a man with much significance to me, both as a friend and a lawyer. He's extremely talented, to be sure. I needed two things before I could confront him. First was a place where no injustice would be tolerated. Second was a man who would tolerate no injustice. In other words, defense attorney, you, Apollo. Me. This is a dark time in our legal system. Twisting injustice brought on by our very own initial trial system. We have to set it right. Mr. Wright, Our work lies ahead of us, and I, for one, am looking forward to it. First operation of individual equipment. A personal experience of yours that is unique and not repeated. Well, this seems like a good time to announce the verdict. This court finds the defendant, Mr. Phoenix, Wright, not guilty. Confetti in the courtroom. Court is adjourned. April 20th. Thanks, Apollo. Came through. Just like I thought you would. Pretty sure I didn't do a thing in there. It was you, cornered Mr. Gav, the killer. Couldn't have done it by myself. You sensed it too today, didn't you? Your ability. Ability? Yeah. The sensitivity I lack. Come to understand it soon enough. Wait, I wonder if he means... I have one question for Linus. Blah, blah, blah. We've been over this. Jesus. What was that, Mr. Wright? You'll have to find the answer to that question yourself. Answer right. Today was full of questions without answers, most of them about Mr. Gavin. What possible reason could he have to commit murder? Perhaps you'll learn that when the days to come. Wait, you don't know, do you? This locket is the key. Huh? Oh, that reminds me. I met the girl in the photo. Your daughter, right? That's right. She's my daughter. You know, you were right about this locket. Took this off the neck the night he died. But it looks like our dear Russian scam artist saw me. So the truth is, this locket really did belong to him. Wait, but that's perjury. He testified. He said that locket was yours. He said no such thing, actually. Huh? He merely said that it was a locket with my daughter's picture inside. Subtle distinction, but a distinction nonetheless. It's the truth. Wait, but then why? Why was the victim wearing a locket with a picture of your daughter inside it? Sometimes the straightest path is to truth isn't the best one. Give it time. You're still getting started with your career. Speaking of which, maybe I have a job. I worked at Gavin Law since after all. Still, I can't believe I saw Mr. Gavin get laid away in handcuffs. Apollo, yeah? How about coming to work for me? Eh? You mean at the Wright and Co. law offices? I mean, there's not a single attorney in my generation that doesn't know it. Can't imagine that'd be true, but wait. But then you're not a... Oh, I turned in my badge, yes. I'm not an attorney anymore. That incident 7 years ago. Legendary trial. And at the middle of it all was one man, Phoenix Wright. The case reached its set conclusion and he left the law for good. Have you ever thought about coming back to courts? I'm not qualified to stand in a court of law, I'm afraid. Didn't you notice in today's trial, there was a single piece of forged evidence? Forged evidence? What are you talking about? I'm talking about the evidence that shouldn't have existed. Not a magician's trick. One piece of evidence stuck to me as odd, that's true. It just seemed, well, too perfect. But it was this forged evidence. You mean this, don't you? You got this from your daughter, Mr. Wright. Yeah, that card couldn't have been at the crime scene. Why? Because the killer took it with him when he left. Leaving the wrong card in its place, luckily for us. Court can't accept this evidence. My verdict was all I handed down 7 years ago. Then you really, forged this card. One look at the crime scene should have told you it wasn't real. But you can't do something like that and call yourself an attorney. He's calling himself an attorney, Apollo. So it's true. The rumor is true. 7 years ago. None of that matters now, does it? I punched him. It's your story from here on out, Apollo. Perhaps I can help you turn to the next page. My office's address. Drop in if you'd like. Mr. Wright. Oh, about your uppercut? Try yelling, take that, next time. Fanny packs a little more punch. Ba-da-bum-ba-da-bum. Apollo, thanks for today. Had a good time. That Mr. Wright walked out the door. That's how my first trial ended. A lot of my mysteries were unsolved, and at the time I had no idea they were all related. Every mystery that day, connected by a single thread of logic. Find that out soon enough. My name's Paul Justice, attorney at law, and this is how my story begins. Alright, so that was case 1 of this game. And with that, I'm going to call it here, and we will continue later. See you.